The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. Want the real story behind the sound bites and headlines? Let's find the facts. Remember, it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. You are not paranoid or confused. You just need to know.
Welcome in, everybody, for an on-the-road version of Need to Know. Kip Keefer with you, coming to you this morning from Houston, Texas, the second stop on a four-city tour that I'm on currently with a lot of various agendas. No need to really get into the details of those other than to say that the rapid growth of my media company, Kip Keefer Sports, is part of the assignment here, as well as a lot of things related to my actual real job, I guess you could say, as the executive director of the Birmingham Racing Commission, overseeing the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, which is a fabulous operation out in the Irondale-Trussville area of Birmingham. And if you are listening from anywhere in that area and have not been out to the racetrack casino since the conversion, the sale last year from the McGregor family, who had the facility for 33 years, and now the Porch Band of Creek Indians, PCI, the Wind Creek organization, has purchased the facility. They have done an absolutely phenomenal job of transforming the gaming floor into a showplace of real sensory overload of sight and sound. It is really worth your time to go on out and check it out for just an exciting, great night of entertainment. And that's just the beginning. There are so many more plans for that facility. Hopefully in 2027, they will get statewide legislation approved, legislation approved in the legislature for a statewide constitutional amendment vote that would allow full-scale casino gaming in Alabama, which is way overdue when you consider, and again, I stray off the intended topic, but this is important stuff, especially if you're in Alabama. It makes absolutely no sense that Alabama lags behind in terms of catching up with all of our neighboring competition. I'm talking about all the surrounding states, because they all have all kinds of varieties of gaming, both casino and lottery. We're talking about Mississippi and Georgia on either side, Florida and Tennessee on either top or bottom. We are completely surrounded. Every time there's a big lottery jackpot, the traffic jams going across state lines trying to buy tickets are absurd. The attendance at the Mississippi casinos, we did a survey back in the McGregor era, and they had some people walk the parking lot on a Saturday night and monitor cars. 71% of the cars in the parking lot that night were Alabama tags. So that is just unbelievable revenue that the state of Alabama allows to leave the borders. That's revenue that could fix the 10 gazillions potholes in the Alabama roads in Birmingham. It's gotten to the point where it's almost like driving on the moon with the massive craters in the roads. It's just revenue that could be going toward education, as they've done in Georgia so successfully with the Hope Scholarship. You maintain a B average, you're a Georgia resident, you get college tuition paid. Alabama students do not have any kind of opportunities like that. There's all kinds of tremendous opportunities for making this happen by modernizing things. And the only reason in Alabama that this has not been done previously is because the legislators are getting directly paid by all these surrounding states to keep competition from developing from Alabama, instead of having it just be a wide open stream of players coming to their states. So they are feathering the pockets of legislators to resist this kind of very important update, and that needs to stop and stop now. So, bottom line, tell your representatives, your senators, and your Alabama House reps that you want them to do the right thing for the state and for your children and all of your public services, and update these laws. It's ridiculous that all this revenue just streams out of state. Alabama, one of only 4 states in the country that do not have legalized lottery. It's just time to wake up. It's 2026, not 1926. All the wives' tales about all the social problems caused by gambling is ridiculous. If you have a computer or a phone, you can be in action on any offshore site you want right now. It doesn't prevent any reckless behavior, but like anything else, it is a situation where the home shopping network can become addictive. It's not my job or your job to try and tell other people how to spend their money. So that's the bottom line. Don't buy all the wives' tales. Do the right thing. Do the sensible thing. And as I always say, do the common sense thing. And let's bring this to Birmingham. These folks want to build a world-class resort out at the Birmingham Racecourse Casino site, high-rise hotel, new event venue for shows and concerts, already hosting the state fair out there this coming week. A lot of things happening at the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, and they want to do a whole lot more with a world-class gaming facility and all the amenities that come with it. Dining, shopping, and of course, as I just mentioned, big events. So that's something on the horizon to consider. You know, there's so much going on in the world. I guess you would probably tune into this show and expect me to talk about that. But as I mentioned, I'm on the road, and I had just sort of a interesting Easter Sunday because I was traveling yesterday, and I had encounters with some extraordinary people, and I think sometimes you got to get out of your cocoon a little bit and find out what's going on in the world. And I have to tell you, my whole conception, my whole attitude of kind of where we're going was revived in a positive direction yesterday in dealing with a series of young people. I'm talking about people in their 20s, all hustling to make a living. A lot of them, of course, related to the transportation industry because that's what I'm doing right now is traveling. But I just wanted to tell you about a couple of these young folks and really the great feeling I got from the encounters I had with them yesterday. It started with my first Uber driver, a young lady of early 20s, driving a really cool vehicle, a Fiat minivan or SUV, I guess you could say, but very small. I didn't know Fiat was still in business. I remember those cars from the 90s. But a Fiat SUV, a small SUV, very nice, very comfortable, fit her very well. Started with a little casual conversation, and you know, there's a lot of controversy. I don't know how many of you routinely use Uber or frequently use it. I tend to quite a bit since my vision problem prevents me from driving, and say a little prayer of thanks for that because you don't want me on the roads. That is not a good idea. So Uber has been a godsend as my vision has declined to the point where I don't need to be behind the wheel of a car. I could do it, but it would be pretty sketchy because if any little thing went wrong, like somebody running a stop sign or if I had to take some sudden elusive action, it probably wouldn't work out very well. So I really don't drive anymore for that reason. If I was the cause of some kind of accident and somebody getting hurt, I don't think I would ever forgive myself for making that kind of bad decision. So I'm riding with this young lady yesterday, and we start talking a little bit, and there's a lot of discussion about, do Uber drivers want to talk to you? Do you want to talk to them? I've got certain friends that say, I don't, I get in the car and I want to think about things, or, look at my phone. I'm not interested in having a conversation with my driver. There's others that, you get in the car and immediately they engage them in conversation and want to know about their lives and whatnot. I kind of take the wait and see approach. I get in, I say good morning, I say thank you for picking me up, and then the ball's kind of in their court. And let me tell you, as soon as the ball got in her court yesterday, she had about a 15-minute trip with me, and she basically told me the entire story of her life without me provoking her very much. But she was really interesting. She's a young lady that excelled in school, thought about going to college, but there was financial, barriers there. So she's now working very hard to try and get enough money so she'll have options about what she wants to do with her future. I don't know exactly how old she was. I'm going to say 22 or 23. A young African-American woman, very well-spoken, very charming personality, very high energy. But I think the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, is as she talked more, said she's fascinated with human anatomy and all these things, and she thought at one point she wanted to be a doctor or a therapist. And then she had an interesting encounter with an Uber passenger who she was quizzing about what they did for a living, and it was a retired guy. He said he had just recently retired, and she shared with me he was a mortician. He was co-owner of a funeral home, and she went on to say, because I'm fascinated with the human body and whatnot, I don't really shy away from that. Because he told me what a great living it was, that nobody wants to get into it, and if I had interest in things along those lines, it's something I should think about. She said she's done a lot of research, and now that's the direction she's thinking she's going to go, which I found fascinating, because you don't run into many people say, yeah, I kind of want to get in the death business. A lot of good opportunities there. Not so much opportunities for your clients, but I guess that's another matter. But somebody's got to do it. So that was an interesting start to the day. But, just to meet somebody with that kind of exuberance and zest for life and kind of forging their plan, that was the first kind of renewing experience I had yesterday. I get on the airplane, and there's another young woman who is it was a smaller commuter jet yesterday for the flight that I had, a short flight. And this young lady that was the FA, the flight attendant, I used to kind of date one, so I know all the internal terms, but they refer to themselves as FAs. She was working this whole flight by herself. There's probably only 50 people on the plane. Again, not a big jet, but she was absolutely enchanting in terms of her, getting people on the plane, the greetings of people as they came in. Again, I mentioned my vision problem. I don't have any problems, moving around, or, I can see where I'm going. I don't run into people. I have to pay attention. But as long as I pay attention and acknowledge my limitations, I'm perfectly fine to handle myself. I don't need any assistance. But I was getting on the plane, again, a commuter plane. They don't have the traditional step right on. They have these little ramp things that you got to go up and come back down. And it was a plane that there was sunlight coming in between, just over the top of the plane and the ramp. So basically you were walking into bright light, and then all of a sudden when you got about 3/4 down the ramp, it became really dark. So that transition is tricky for my vision. So I kind of grabbed the rail and stabilized myself for the next step because I really couldn't see what was in front of me. I knew I was almost completely on the plane, and she was standing right there. Her name was Lainey, and she said, "Sir, do you need help?" And I said, No, I just got blinded there for just a second, going from bright sunlight to dark. I've got kind of a vision issue. And she goes, "Well, okay, take one more step," which I was going to do. I was not going to freeze. I took my one more step, and she goes, "Do I need to assist you to your seat?" And I said, No, I'm around the corner now. I'm on the plane. I can walk down the aisle. I'm good. Thank you for your concern. And didn't think much more of it. Settled in my seat. The flight took off. It was early in the morning. I kind of dozed off, and as I tend to do on planes, I can get really relaxed and fall asleep with especially on the climb out when you're kind of reclined naturally because of the position of the plane. But after that little cat nap, about I don't know, half an hour later, with only about 20 minutes left in the flight, all of a sudden, as I kind of got organized and got my phone back out to see what was going on. She's standing right there by my seat, and she says, "I was come back to talk to you, but you were asleep, so I didn't want to bother you. But do you need me to arrange a wheelchair for you when we arrive in Houston?" And I said, "No, I don't need that." And she goes, "Well, I normally, wouldn't be butting in here." And this is after, she made all the announcements. She was very engaging, and I was already impressed with her attitude. And she was talking about, this is a little commuter plane, and Embraer is the manufacturer. She says, but let me just tell you something. I worked on this type of airline most of the time, and I love this airplane. She goes, "I like it so much that I want to, and I've already started the process of trying to get my pilot's license, because my dream," and this is another young girl, probably 23 or 24, I'm trying to achieve my dream of becoming a pilot, and this is the aircraft that I'd like to fly. So I love this aircraft, so from here on, I'm going to refer to it as my own. And she was going, "Do not smoke in my bathrooms. Do not clog the aisles. Do not," it was all my. But again, she was, compared to the kind of wooden presentation you get from a lot of these people, she was just a great communicator. But anyway, she was so concerned about my situation because right now in Houston, there's this massive project going on at the George Bush IAH Airport, International Airport, Houston, and she said we're going to be landing in Terminal B, but all that infrastructure is under construction. Each of the terminals has their own baggage claim area. You're going to have to find your way to you check the bag, and I said yes, and she said, "You're going to have to find your way to Terminal C for Charlie." And she goes, "It's not easy. It's confusing. You really need somebody to assist you at the airport. I'm really concerned about you." And I said, I travel all the time. I find a way. It's not the easiest thing. This sounds a little complicated, but your concern is, I really appreciate you. Anyway, getting off the plane, she said, "Well, take care of yourself, and I'll be thinking about you. I hope you don't have trouble." And I said, "Well, thank you." I said, "I will definitely let the folks at United know that they've got a superstar that should be working their highest level flights, not a commuter route." Anyway, I get off and I start to, and this is kind of bogus because you don't see it a lot, but Houston International is a big airport. This is a commuter jet. So it just kind of pulls up outside, and you walk down these ramps and steps, and you come out right on the tarmac, and then they, usher you into the building. And, immediately I was a little confused about where to go, but I just saw some other people from my flight, and I kind of lagged back like I was looking for something in my pockets. And as soon as they passed me, I fell into line behind them. They were my unwittingly my leaders, I guess. And I followed them for a while, and then they kind of took a different path, and I didn't know if they were really looking for, maybe they didn't check a bag or whatever, I was following the wrong people. So I didn't get very far, and all of a sudden a guy walks up to me and said, "Are you William Keefer?" That's my official name. Kip is my middle name, so no confusion there. I don't have dual identities. But I said yes, and she was a representative from United, and she said to me, "Do you need assistance? We got the heads up that you might require assistance." So my very conscientious, concerned flight attendant, just from that brief encounter when I got on the plane, she was going to look out for me anyway. And, after telling her, "No, I'll be fine, don't worry about it," it was kind of amazing to me that she just took that extra step and followed through and notified somebody in the airport to be, I guess they gave a description, because I was a pretty good ways away from the gate we arrived in by that time. So I was kind of shocked. Bottom line, this woman said, "Okay, well, you got to go a little different direction to get to Terminal C, to get to the train." And she had a guy standing by there with a wheelchair. And another young guy, this guy probably I think he was 24, his name was Martin. She goes, "Martin can take you right over there." And I said, I really appreciate it, but I've never been in better shape. I'm completely able-bodied. I just don't see very well. I really don't feel comfortable riding in a wheelchair. And Martin said, "Well, I could just park this over here and just walk with you over there, because I can show you a way. I've got a kind of a back way route that we can get over there pretty quickly." And I said, by that time I just kind of waved the white flag, and I said, "Okay." So, I'm chatting with Martin on the way over to Terminal C, and we do go down some back corridors and a couple of elevators that don't look like they're have a lot of public access. So I'm with a guy who clearly knows the lay of the land there, and he turns out to be I guess legal. I don't know the status of a lot of these folks that are in our country, but he came from some country in Africa, and he's been here 7 years. He's mastered English. He's a great communicator, just a really respectful young man. "Yes, sir. No, sir." And I finally said, "You don't have to be so stiff with me. Just talk to me." And he kind of lightened up, and we had good conversation. We got over to the carousel. We got my bag. And he said, "So what are you going to do from here?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to Uber to my hotel." And he says, "Well, go ahead and call your Uber, and they'll give you the spot that you need to go to meet them." That's how it's set up here. So we do all that, and he goes, "Okay, I'm going to walk you out there because it's a little confusing." So, and I know he knows I'm going to take care of him. So I know he's doing this for profit, but he's telling me about himself, and his aspiration is to become a dentist. And he's already now enrolled in a community college. He's in his second year, so he's going to have to move on to another higher institution. But he's got a whole plan. He works 6 days a week at the airport, gets the maximum amount of hours. He's considered kind of a contract laborer. I don't even know how that's set up. But bottom line, he's making as much money as he can. He's got an idea what he wants to do. He's very expressive and very intelligent. And I gave him my card, and I said, "Well, keep in touch. Let me know how you," because he takes me right out, walks me right out there to where I need to be. And the guy pulls up, and he puts my bag in the back. I mean, again, I know he was looking for a gratuity, and I was happy to provide that. And I was so overwhelmed with all of the time and attention he gave me, because this probably involved 20 to 25 minutes of his time, all totaled. So I didn't have any smaller bills, so I gave him $100, and I felt like that was money well spent, because he probably saved me 45 minutes to an hour of stumbling around looking for the trains and the procedure on Uber and all that other things. So, that was my second encounter, or actually my third, as I've mentioned. The Uber driver, the flight attendant, and now Martin, my new friend, who aspires to be a dentist. And then my Uber driver from the airport to the hotel, another 25, 26-year-old guy, not very talkative, but very polite, very professional. And it just gave me kind of a refreshing view of, maybe this up-and-coming generation. We've already seen such a response from the whole Charlie Kirk movement with Turning Point, the tremendous outpouring of sorrow when Charlie Kirk met his unfortunate end last year at Utah Valley University, being assassinated basically on live television. But this kind of surge where faith and renewal of purpose and a turn back to religion and really family values. A lot of people are stressing the fact now they want to have families. The women's movement is kind of freaking out the extreme leftists of, women are throwing their lives away if they agree to be spouses. I saw one shaved head woman saying, marriage is the modern day equivalent of slavery. Well, I don't know what kind of relationship she witnessed, but I can just tell you from my generation, I was married. I've been divorced for 23 years now. It turned out to be the greatest miracle of my life because just yesterday celebrated the 34th birthday of my youngest son, who was an extraordinary young man, along with my older son, Case, the one in Nevada, who has my two grandchildren out there, the executive sports editor of the Las Vegas Sun. It's the greatest miracles in my life, and I celebrated Clay's birthday this weekend. It is marriage and having children is what it's all about. And this slavery nonsense, and these people, these are people that are in the streets chanting for Hamas and Islamic culture and calling America, agreeing that we're the great Satan in this country where women have, slavery, women have absolutely no rights. They can't go outside without their head covered. They can't be seen in public by themselves. They are not encouraged to pursue any kind of education. These people are so ridiculous in their hypocrisy that you can't even take them serious. Let's go back and say common sense is the key, and that is definitely the situation. And there is no common sense displayed in any of the positions they take. If anything, in my generation, I can tell you my 5 best friends all the way since high school, all 4 of them are still married in very long-term marriages. And the reason those marriages work is because maybe financially in most of those cases, the men are still running the show in terms of producing the revenue, but in terms of running the family, running the household, running their husbands, the women are 100% the rock, the backbone, and the strength of those relationships. And anybody who says that women are committing themselves to being enslaved by saying I do and having children, it's absolute fallacy. I have a good friend whose daughter was a very accomplished young woman in everything she's done for her entire life. She got an outstanding job after an unbelievable academic career, and she just got married at 32 or 33 years old last year. Within a year, just about a week ago, she had her first child. I used to have conversations with her, and she would talk about, she doesn't see herself ever in that kind of conventional role. She wasn't really this activist, leftist kind of young woman, but she just saw herself as a professional. And now she understands, she says, this experience of having a baby, I want to have more. This is so much more than I ever could have imagined. the love I have for this child is something I've never experienced. And I'm so appreciative of my husband and my life and all the opportunities I have. And I think maybe there's a real revival of spirit in this country coming. And all of these things I'm telling you are spawned by the fact that I've had great encounters with young people lately. And I think our future is well in hand positively, because these people are on the right course to achieve the American dream. That's what I had for you today. I'll keep you posted. Going to be on the road for another week. From here, I'm off to Indianapolis on Tuesday. The International Racing Commissioners Association having their annual meeting. And there's a rumor that Kip Keefer is being considered for the board of directors for that organization. So that would be quite a career accomplishment for me. But I'll keep you posted. And then off to Las Vegas on Friday for my granddaughter Aria's first birthday party. She was born on April 10th last year. Big birthday bash in Las Vegas at the home of my son and extremely impressive daughter-in-law, Tracy. And I get to see my number one buddy, my 5-year-old grandson, King. So I'm excited, folks. I hope you all are appreciating your family. The day yesterday that passed Easter, the theme, of course, is resurrection. What a magical word. Is there a more beautiful, powerful, inspiring word in all of language than resurrection? Because all of us, no matter what our situation is, you can always reinvent yourself. You can always apply common sense, and you can always resurrect from any situation just by putting your mind to it and your faith in the God above. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Need to Know. Kind of a bizarre, maybe a little off-the-chart episode, but some things I really wanted to say to hopefully convey the same degree of renewal of faith that I have from meeting these extraordinary young people yesterday and interacting with them. I hope it gives you some hope going forward in the future. Have a fantastic week, everybody. God bless you all.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.